Okay, going live now. I think it's working. No, something is not right. Cool. Going to share this within the design channel on WordPress Slack. CCing. Right now, I always start off by sharing it in a couple of Slack channels in case anyone's interested in joining. And after I do that, now I pop on camera. Hello there. And I do my little intro. Hi there. Happy Friday. It is October 25th, 1:34 p.m. in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. For me, and I hope you're having a lovely, lovely day today and also a lovely week. And for this live stream, I figure I would like to go over how to kind of approach doing a workflow where we have a designer and developer working together to build a feature within a React app using tools like Storybook. In the previous stream, I did a session where I prototyped and built a component within the context of an application, a React application, using tools like Storybook, Netlify to handle automatic deploys and previews, and also leveraging mock data to generate things to very quickly build and mock out UI, especially for a collection of things. So in that example, I built some sort of very, very presentational only Twitter kind of thing. So you needed a way to generate a bunch of tweets in the list. So using mock data was a very effective way in order to do that. So for today, I am going to, I have a little thing that I think I wanted to build. Hopefully I have a screenshot of it. Yes, I do. No, that is not the screenshot I had. Oh my goodness. Pardon me as I pull up the screenshot. So today I figure we can build a kind of shopping cart kind of experience. I'm going to share my screen now. Hopefully this works. Sharing my screen. All right. Cool. So the idea is we're going to build a UI like this, not necessarily with a background image or anything like that, but a kind of shopping cart UI with some plus and minus buttons, some numbers on the right-hand side, maybe a little thumbnail to show the item that you're buying, and this kind of general experience. And let's pretend the designer has already made something like this inside of their Sketch or their Figma. So before we dive in, I would like to kind of outline the players of this kind of experience. So we have, in this kind of pretend scenario, we have a designer who is very, very proficient in their design application of choice, Sketch or Figma. They are very comfortable in the world of HTML and CSS. They can code pen like a pro. However, due to recent 2019 modern times where JavaScript has gotten exceedingly difficult, they are not so comfortable in the world of React, which is totally understandable. Sometimes I look at that stuff and I go, what the heck is going on? So that's our designer friend. So for our developer friend, they are very good at the React stuff, the JavaScript stuff, the Webpack, Node, Babel, all of that kind of stuff. They are very good with REST APIs, performance, bundling, words. They're very good at all that stuff. However, they are lacking a little bit in the UI kind of presentational side when it comes to crafting web experiences. That is great because these two people complement each other very well. They bring different sets of skills in order to create an experience like this. So with these two players in mind, we're going to build something like this where maybe the developer can maybe create a UI or some sort of skeleton to begin with, and the designer can jump in with their HTML and CSS experience to start building, maybe reviewing some of the code that the developer is working on. Have sort of like a back and forth between the two. And yeah, that is the scenario we're walking through today. Jumpsuit Friday. Hey, Michael. So cool to see you on the stream. Alrighty. So again, I'm kind of starting with nothing. I always start with nothing, no script, no no code. And the easiest thing for me to do is to create a brand new React application using a wonderful CLI tool called Create React App. I'm going to call this cart. I need a good name. Shops. Shops is a good name. It's not, but it'll work. It's fine. So this is our pretend React application for now. And while that is firing up, I'm going to go to Storybook. So Storybook is a wonderful tool. I go on and on about this thing almost every single stream I have just because of how good it is. I mean, look at all these trusted companies that leverage and use Storybook to build their stuff. GitHub, Dropbox, Airbnb. Very popular companies. You might have heard of them. And Storybook has come a long way, by the way. It's fantastic where it is now compared to several versions ago. So in order for you to set up Storybook inside of a React application, they've made it very easy. They just have this single command, assuming you're in a React application, which we are in. I'm going to cd into shops, and this is something the developer should really set up, not the designer, although you can try. So the developer, they are used to their current application, their current build pipeline, workflow, whatever. Let's add Storybook. And typically, you only really need to add this one line. What it does is the Storybook CLI will detect your project, and because you've specified that it's React, it'll install its Storybook React-y kind of things to kind of bootstrap this up. It's going to take a little bit to download everything into Node modules, as per usual, but while that's doing its thing, just checking the live chat, no one's talking, that's fine with me. And again, all this stuff is recorded onto YouTube after the fact, so that's why I do it on YouTube, just so that it magically just saves it as a video and I don't have to do anything. I'm quite lazy in that regard, because like editing and I don't know, converting videos from one file format to another is a headache. So we have Storybook now. I'm going to open this up inside of VS Code, which is my editor of choice nowadays, and what it's done is that it's added some handy dandy scripts to your package.json, enabling you to just run an open Storybook. And they've also added a handful of example stories inside of stories, this stories folder here. So I'm going to fire this up now. Yarn, this one, create React app uses Yarn out of the box because Facebook, but you can most definitely use npm if you prefer. I'm not going to fiddle with any of that kind of stuff, so I'm just going to do yarn. Yarn Storybook to fire it up. And I believe the default port is usually 6006. It's going to do its compile-y thingy. It's going to fire it up. And here we have the Storybook. Great. Cool. So remember, this is a React application, so you do kind of need to do some React-y things. I'm just going to work with the welcome story for now. So all you really need to do, to be honest, I'm still getting used to the new Storybook kind of format with this. This has changed dramatically from Storybook 3.4 versus 5. This is really nice. It's much nicer inside of Storybook 5, but I'm not used to it. So what you can do is, we have the welcome story here, which right now outputs a bunch of this kind of stuff. You can just change this and just write hello. Great. So I'm just going to make it return this div. So right now, this is all we really need to get working, to get our thing working within Storybook. So let us pretend like we are creating a shopping cart thing that we have designed, which I now no longer have the file for. One moment, please. There we go. Oh my goodness. So many browsers, so many URLs. I have a thing where I don't like to have a lot of browser tabs open. I only have whatever it is I need. Otherwise, I go insane. So what is this component? Overall, the larger component is a shopping cart thing, modal, whatever it is. But there are a lot of little components inside. For this example today, I'm not going to be going over design system-y kind of stuff, although I will be touching upon it. I'm not going to be talking about what components should go into your design system or not. I'm purely focusing on the developer slash X designer experience when it comes to collaboration and working together to building a feature that looks like this successfully. So most likely there will be a little inside of your application, a directory called components, or there's many ways of how you can organize your project, but I'm going to assume just components for now. And then we have a thing called shopping cart. Very simple. Okay. We have an index. This is the main entry file for this component. Standard stuff. Import React from React. Make it a little bit bigger. Apologies. And then export default function shopping cart. And the reason why I struggle with that a little bit is just because I mentioned this in my previous stream. I'm very used to typing this. Shopping cart is a function that looks like that rather than declaring name functions like this. Same, more or less same idea. I'm just not used to it. Okay, so now all I do is I render a div, hello. And I have a thing here where I no longer need this. So inside of the story, I'm just going to stick with welcome for now. I'm not going to, actually no, I'm just going to change it to shopping cart to make it a little bit clearer. So all you really need to do to add the component to this story is, well, depending on the path of your setup right now, by default, Storybook adds things to a dedicated stories folder. I'm going to change that, actually, because it's much nicer to have the stories living alongside of your component. Everything is inside of one folder. It makes it easier to find. So shopping cart.stories.js. We're going to import our shopping cart component. Shopping cart. Right now, if you're not used to this kind of new way of writing JavaScript, it's nothing too fancy. This is kind of just standard JavaScripty stuff. Standard, I mean by 2019 standards. So nothing too fancy yet. All I'm doing is I'm importing my what is this? To Storybook. I don't even know what the heck that does. We'll see. All I'm doing is I'm importing my shopping cart component and I'm rendering it inside of a story. But out of the box, Storybook doesn't know where to find these stories if you group them inside of your directory like this. So you have to modify a file inside of config. Config tells them where to find things. And you can use a glob for this. They have some sort of matcher thing right here. So all I want you to do, Storybook, is to look inside of src, our source directory, please. And I'm just going to fire it back up so that it knows where to find things. I discovered last time that I might not have to do that. Storybook has gotten really good. Great. So now it's rendering my shopping cart to story. I think that's the name of it. So I can change the name of that guy. I'm doing it right here. I'm just going to change it to just default for now. Great. I actually don't think I need to. Can I just do this? Wow, I can just do that. Nuts. Hey, Sean. Great. So we have a component that renders markup. I'm not going to write any more like React components beyond here. So we're starting off strong, I think. Let's assume that our application already has some sort of CSS because it should. The easiest way to do that, I think for me, is to add Bootstrap to this thing. So now I have to figure out how to get Bootstrap. Haven't done this in a long time. And the reason why I like using Bootstrap for examples is just because it's a thing that a lot of people know. It's become so standard in the way that we think about things and the way that we build things. Some would argue probably the most successful design system that has revolutionized the way that we think about and build the web. So good job, Bootstrap. How on earth do I install it though? Come on, package npm install Bootstrap, great. And then you require Bootstrap. We'll load all the jQueries, some things. There has to be a node example. I'm just gonna give it a shot. I don't know. Sure. Yarn add Bootstrap. I don't know what it adds, but we're going to give it a shot. So this has nothing to do with the Storybook stuff. I'm just kind of setting up my fake application right now to make sure it has the assets and stuff that it needs. And I think you can kind of set up your Storybook environment to add global things, add global imports and whatever it is inside of your config file. I may be wrong, but I remember doing something like this here. So according to the docs, the Bootstrap module itself does not export anything. So in theory, if I just do import Bootstrap, it should know how to do things. jQuery, could not find resolve jQuery. Oh, because I don't have jQuery installed. Bootstrap does not. Alright, fine. jQuery is a dependency or something. What else is a dependency? Popper? If you're using compiled JavaScript, don't forget to include Popper and JS. Alright, fine. I don't think I need to install Popper necessarily, but we'll see. Add jQuery. Okay. Are you happy now? Yes, it's happy. There are no styles that are loaded, which is weird. What? Let me just see. So usually when you load Bootstrap, there is like a reset style that kicks in, and then all your fonts look a little bit different. Again, I'm just trying to set up things right now. Diving into node modules to see what on earth Bootstrap even exports. Bootstrap. Dist, CSS. Oh, okay. Maybe I need to do this. Import bootstrap / dist / css / bootstrap.css. Can't resolve this. That's because I have a typo. That's why. Great. Bootstrap is loaded. I can tell because the word hello looks a little bit not awful. That's a good way to tell. Cool. Now we can start doing the thing, which is building our application, assuming that, building a little feature within our application, assuming that we have some sort of CSS base already, which is Bootstrap. So within Bootstrap, how do we build this kind of UI? Well, right now the developer, let's say, I'm pretending I'm the developer now. I can't really do CSS really, so I'm just going to add things that I think I'll just create the markup for the little component for now. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, as a developer, maybe I need to work on API things first. Hey, designer, can you work on the markup? And the designer is like, yeah, sure, why not? So now I'm the designer now. The designer checks out the Git repo. They have this all installed, and because it's using Storybook, they can just run npm or yarn run Storybook thing. It'll fire this up, and the developer tells them, hey, maybe they have some notes here. Add HTML, please. Thank you, because they're very kind and friendly. So now the designer, they can just write some HTML here to kind of start constructing this UI. Because Storybook and hopefully the application is set up with the ability to understand CSS, we can actually write some CSS like this. So let me just write shopping cart for my CSS. Background red. I always do this just to make sure things are working. Class name shopping cart. Oh, it doesn't show because there's nothing in it. Now it should have something. Why isn't it working? I don't know. This should be working. Did I spell something wrong? Yes, I did. Great. So now the CSS is working. The designer has something to play in to start constructing this stuff. Alrighty. So cool. I put my little designer hat on. What do I need to build? I need to build a little... I'm going to save this image. Thank you so much. Sorry, don't know how to pronounce your name. Gutham, thank you so much for creating this little mockup on Dribble. I'm going to leverage it today to build the mockup thingy. the feature for my little fake application. Okay, so we have a cart looking modal thingy, and that's what I'm gonna build as a designer. Shopping cart. It is a, I don't know, margin auto to begin with. Its background is not red, it is white. There's a padding of, I don't know, and as a designer you probably have all this stuff measured out inside of Sketch, Zeppelin, Figma, or whatever. I don't. Max width is 600, just making up values, it's fine. I just want to render something. That's all I want to do. Ooh, my favorite thing about writing CSS sometimes is just being able to play with the box shadow. Box shadows are fun. One with 1 pixel blur, make it black, with a hint a little black right there, and then we're gonna make it spread a little bit more. And I always just make up values for this every single time. And when you combine a bunch of little box shadows like this, you get one nice looking more box shadow that looks a little bit realistic, which is kind of cool. And I learned this kind of technique from looking at all the various CSS things that Material has kind of introduced when they first came out. Border radius is, I don't know, 8. Okay, cool. So hopefully you can see this. We're starting to have a little thing here. Inside of here, maybe I can just add a little file called custom.css. And the idea for custom CSS, please don't ship this. And the idea for this is just to write some CSS just to kind of like make the mock-up or make whatever it is I'm working with Storybook a little bit nicer. But here's a little note, developer, please don't use this, or if you do, please refactor it when you want to write the code for realsies. That's an important detail. And very simple to communicate this as well. Just write comments saying, please don't use this. You need different hats to say designer and developer. Yeah, I'll buy hats or something. I don't know. Okay. Padding, great. So we now have a little card that's happening. The card probably, the styles probably exist in Bootstrap. I don't know. But it probably doesn't look like this. It probably has something a little bit different. So inside of my Storybook, the designer is starting to create this style. Starting to work with something. So this feels very CodePenny already. I mean, how can I? Inside of VS Code, there's a way for you to snap the thing to align to the side. Something like this. Yeah. All right. Cool. The designer, I don't need to look at that. I don't need to look at this for now. Yeah. Look, it's basically CodePen. That's the idea. To create an environment or to create something to allow the designer to really get in and just like do their best work in a workflow that they're comfortable with. It's a very tiny thing to set up in terms of like tooling and process, but it's really important to be able to do that because that helps bridge the gap, the technical, the knowledge, the skill gap between the developer and the designer so that they can effectively work together. So we have a shopping cart guy. I'm going to jump to Finder. That's okay. We have order, that's a title or header or something, and then we have all these individual items. So I'm just going to very quickly add a title. Order. So Sass is not set up. Right now I'm just going very bare bones to build this thing. It's all caps. Text transform uppercase. Yeah, great. So it should look like it's not there. Why is it not there? Oh, I didn't save. That's why. Great. We have order now. And we have little items. So if you're noticing my class names aren't necessarily the best, that's fine. That's not fine. So maybe I can leave a little note saying, how do I, dang it. To do refactor class names. So something as simple as that will work. Class name and make this item. So depending on your proficiencies, as it's a combination of experience, proficiency, and also convention in your current application. You might go with BEM, you might go with another kind of CSS naming scheme. I'm just going to go with very simple words, title, item. You can use your imagination to fill in the gaps. So it could be shopping cart underscore underscore item, or whatever it is you prefer. So items are the individual guys that show up in our cart. Is there something like that in Bootstrap? There probably is. They've changed things a lot. I need a thing. They used to have something called media that aligns something to the left and to the right. I think they've gone to a more, what's it called? They've started to leverage more functional CSS-based kind of patterns where they basically abstracted or provided a lot of these, basically a CSS name for a bunch of little things, which this kind of thing came about when tachyons became really popular. I have opinions. I can share that on another stream maybe. But right now I can't even figure out how to do that, so I'm just going to write it from scratch. So far, the only thing we've used from Bootstrap is just like styles for text and maybe some reset styles, which is fine. It's fine. And for now, I'm not even gonna bother putting shopping cart in front of these, just because it's easier to write. Display, flex, and that's it. So we have from within the item, we have a little thumbnail, that the width of the thumbnail is, I don't know, 80. Height is 80. Come on. Typos. Height is 80. Is it circle? It's not. Overflow is hidden, and inside the thumbnail we have, I'm just gonna write this global thing. Image width is 100%. Height is auto. That gives you responsive images, and I'm gonna do this thing. Hopefully it works. Object fit is cover. Okay, so now inside of here I have my little thumbnail. Oh, there's only one thing that you need to prep your designer for when you're doing something like this. That is, instead of using class like normal HTML like this, inside the world of React, because class is a reserved word in the world of JavaScript, you have to use class name. That's like the only kind of big detail that the designer needs to know. Otherwise, it's like, just write HTML here and you'll be fine. So yeah, so far so good, I guess. Image, and maybe the background of this is, I don't know, some form of gray. No, I keep typing red. Red is like muscle memory in order to like stub stuff in. And the thumbnail needs to have a margin right of some big amount. 10, I don't know, 16 pixels. And here we have class name content. Hello. Content, and this is a flex of 1 to take up the remaining space. It would help if I saved. So hello, we see hello there. The thumbnail's not doing anything. Why? The thumbnail should have some sort of width, and unless I spelled something wrong. Yes, I did. Goodness gracious me. So we have something that looks like this now. Great. And cool. Interesting. So things inside of here are kind of like vertically aligned like so. And funny enough, vertically aligned things are actually quite hard inside of CSS. It's weird. It's very strange. The best solution I know of is to leverage Flexbox to kind of take care of that for you. Flexbox, when you do align items center, basically anything you put inside of here, and I'm just going to write this real fast so you can see. Inner divs, make a background of red with a margin of 10. That way you can see something happening. So this one is I'm just going to write this inline style real fast, height of 40. This one has a height of, I don't know, 10. This one has a height of 100. Right. So you can see that, I'm going to draw a square around here. Border, 1 pixel solid, pink. Great. So you can see that with display flex and align item center, regardless of how tall something is, it'll always snap to the center, which is useful when you're creating an experience like this, because here, these two items, like item 1 and whatever, it's slightly taller. If you can imagine a box being drawn around these things compared to these other ones. But contextually, as a whole, you want everything to be aligned to the center. So you basically have little boxes that wraps content stuff within. There's an interesting kind of philosophy that goes into building things like this, because some people are opposed to having lots and lots of divs that just does things because it's not semantically correct. So therefore, they have very little divs, like just, for example, title or description, and maybe a little box that contains, not even a box, just like something for the text and something for the button group and so on. That, like semantically in the HTML, reads a little bit better, but it makes your CSS really harsh. Just because I found that it's useful to have divs. Sometimes you just need divs for layout purposes, which plays into the realm of like grid, like traditional grid methods, not CSS grids, like container, row, column, the Bootstrap grid kind of style. You have things specifically there for layout. There's that separation between what the thing is, being a thumbnail, and the thing that surrounds it, that's responsible for placing the thumbnail somewhere in your larger interface. I believe it's perfectly fine, and I recommend you leverage styles and divs to handle that kind of thing. Anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. We have a couple of things inside. We have some details. So we have the plus minus, I don't know what to call it, and we have price. So we're going to create 3 divs. Details plus minus. Worst name ever for a class name that describes what those buttons do, but it's fine. Price. And we have price. The price right now is $20. It's a good price. Plus minus, we don't have anything yet, so I'm just going to do minus plus. Details, we have item 1, and then we have stuff. So here we probably need to put that in H3 or something, I don't know. Semantic things are hard, especially when you're looking just at the component itself and not seeing it in the grander scheme of where it is in your application. I guess we'll put things in a paragraph tag because we're being good. Alrighty. So now we have some stuff. We have a plus minus and we have 20. So the cool thing that you can do with display flex is you want to say, hey man, this item 1 box, please just take up the rest of the space. I don't know what is supposed to be. There is a handy dandy little trick that I use. Just give it a flex of 1 and it'll just take up the rest of the space. Here I can say, all right, for this particular, oh, whoops. I added it to the wrong thing. I apologize. Should be here. I think my face might be covering something. So here, flex 1. That takes up the rest of the space. You plus minus and you price, you figure out the rest. So that's what I'm going to be doing. It's a very handy trick. I don't think I need that anymore. That was just for debugging purposes. I don't think I need that. So right now, not doing a lot of Reacty things or hardcore JavaScripty things, but that's fine. I'm wearing my designer hat right now. Flex of 1. That takes care of that. And for plus minus, I want that to be a certain size. Plus minus, I don't know. The width of view is 80. Sure. There, and then the price is price is also 80, maybe 100, and the text is always floating to the right. Text align right. No, that might be too big. That's a little bit better. But now the title is a little bit too large, so let's take care of that. Content, H3. Font size is, I don't know, 14. Margin, you nullify it. No, that doesn't look great. Why did I load Bootstrap anyway? If all I'm going to do is write custom CSS, it's fine. Okay, and also the P tag is not right. P, and that is margin 0. Maybe this one is margin 0, 0, 10. Okay, so now we got something. We have our item, and then it's like, okay, well, we have lots of items now, maybe. Okay, so now we see that we need to add a little bit of margin or something. Margin bottom. Oh, wait. There was lines to this thing. Yes, there's padding. There's padding top. There's nothing. Margin, probably nothing. Border bottom is 1 pixel solid. Some gray color. And then I guess something that looks like this. Need a little bit more padding. Fine. Cool. So now we're starting to build something. And the designer is like, all right, I'm starting to build some sort of interface here. I can maybe add some buttons just for the plus minusy kind of thing. Button class name. Oh, Bootstrap. It's time for you to shine. What do? Minus. You don't look like much. Why? I'm sure there is like a default style or something for button that I'm missing, so I'm going to add that in. Light? BTN light? There's no thing that just like makes it look like a normal button? I guess this one. Why is it? I just want a border around this guy. Why isn't there a border around this thing? Why are the styles not being applied? Bootstrap 4. I don't know what's going on with you. Oh, it's probably because I didn't save. Why am I saving so hard today? Okay, so I got something there. I got something here. There's a typo. I gotta fix that typo. And then I need some sort of input thing. Input class. If I remember, it would be form control. That was the original name for this thing. I don't know what it is anymore. Okay. Look at me a little messy. Bootstrap, they had a thing called like form inline. I don't know if I can still use that. I don't know. I'll just plus minus. I'll just write it manually here. Display flex. Display flex is your friend. There we go. And we have just an input, and the width of that is, I don't know, some vague width, 32, sure. Nope, too much. Too little, rather. I need a 48. Great, cool. Well, this is looking really broken. I think this needs more space. Alrighty, so we have an item. We have an item with stuff. Great. And the designer's like, all right, developer, I'm done making my thing. First, I have to make sure I have actually have Git. So let's pretend this already happened. Just gonna commit it. First thing. And then the designer pushes it onto GitHub, which I have not done yet. So I'm going to create a little repo specifically for this design. What did I call it? Shops. Good name. And the designer's like, all right, developer, I'm done my thing. The developer's, all right, cool. I'm going to take a look at your designs and like rig up Redux and do whatever crazy thing I need to do. Developer pulls it down. I'm wearing my developer hat now. And I'm looking at this, all right, cool. We have some markup, but this stuff is not really This stuff doesn't look right. We can't have these properties in the component. We gotta have actual data flowing in. The developer is like, all right, cool. Well, our props. I'm gonna write props now. So I need to know for this specific thing, I need to know some things. We are going to have, well, taking a look at this item should really be its own little component because it's no longer part of the shopping cart because it's like its own thing. So we have a product. I'm just going to call it a product. New index. Developers, it's time to shine to do some refactory stuff. And because the developer is not super proficient with CSS things, says I'm just going to leave this alone. I'm just going to leave the markup alone because you designer, you did something. I don't know what you did. Not too strong with my HTMLs and CSS, which is I'm good at my JavaScript-y stuff. Product. We have item. Just a tiny little refactor just to kind of get things working. Const. I need a thumbnail, I need a title, I need a description, and I need, I guess, volume, amount? Sure, amount and price. Okay, I'm going to replace some stuff here. Price. The value of this is amount? Is that what I called it? Yeah, bad names. It's fine. Title. I'm loving this as a developer, working JavaScript stuff, React-y stuff. Description. Thumbnail is probably here. Thumbnail. Alrighty. And for me as a developer, I am going to fire up a story so I can see what the heck I'm even looking at. Stories.js. Okay, product. Now I take a look at my product. Oh no, where the styles go? Oh no, the styles, all this stuff is attached to the shopping cart thing. I need to refactor this. I am just going to make a new file, I guess. Product.css. I'm just going to grab all this because I think that's what makes sense. I'm going to put it here, and then I am going to just import the styles from this. Import product.css. That should be fine. This one no longer needs it, and I need to leave a little note. To do. Also moved from shopping cart. Okay. Hopefully this works. No, it doesn't. Something is exploding. Why is it exploding? Oh. Yeah, why are you exploding? I don't understand. Come on, Storybook. What did I do wrong? Why have I made you upset? What? I'm just gonna try firing it back up again. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll see. It works somehow. Great, cool. My styles aren't loading though. That's a bummer. That's a shame. Why are you not loading, styles? Oh, right. Right. Because the thing that makes it actually the width of something is not right. It's not provided inside the product. That's okay. I don't really know how to fix it, but I'm gonna rig up some things for the designer to play around with. So design, please fix the product styles. So what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna add Storybook add on knobs. So knobs is a way for you to be able to fiddle with the UI. inside a Storybook. It's a very, very powerful tool. And every single time I forget how on earth I'm even supposed to add it. I believe I have to do this. And then I have to do a thing that I totally forgot how to do, so I'm just going to check a previous example. Plus, minus, good band name. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Sean. Yes, it is. Yes, I have to add decorator or something. And then I do something else. So inside of my Storybook, remember I'm the developer guy now. Whoop, 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 whoop. See, even as a dev who's worked with Storybook for years, I always never know how to do this. Okay, you're complaining because I've done something crazy with Storybook. That's fine, I understand. I'm gonna fire it back up. Hopefully this works now. Build broken. Oh, because I'm trying to import it twice. That makes sense. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Okay, and with that, knobs should be loaded inside of my story. But it's not because Storybook is still broken. Because I messed it up. Okay, so here I see knobs. I'm going to set up some knobs in my stories just so that the designer can start playing around with something. And what do I need? So I've set up some properties inside of my component. I've set up these guys, so I'm going to simulate those properties here. What do I need? What is that? So it's text. I think text is probably the only one. Number. From Storybook knobs. Okay. Const. Thumbnail, we won't pass anything in. It's fine. Title, text, title. Item 1. Description. Item something. Copy is hard. Amount. That's a number. So the amount, let's start off with the 1. Price is 20. 20. Is that a number? Yeah, make it text. It's $20. $20. And with this, description. So if you're a designer, depending on how familiar you are with React, this isn't too scary. I'm just rigging up some things, nothing necessarily to do with like complex JavaScript events or state management-y kind of Redux-y kind of stuff, nothing like that. Great. So now if I type in something, yay, that works. So I can see it in the UI, which is really good because sometimes if you have something that looks like this, where say the UI is really constrained in terms of the width, you want to be able to figure out a way to effectively handle maybe long titles, or handle maybe a description like delivery 24th of July, maybe additional content. How do you handle wrapping? Things like that. Very UI fiddly kind of bits. That I'm leaving up to the designer. For now, I've hooked up some knobs so that they can play with it. And more importantly, I'm gonna commit this. Whoops. Abstract product to component, add knobs. Okay. So now I'm going to set up Netlify. Netlify is a thing that you can use very, very effectively with more React-based front-end kind of workflows. Not necessarily, just anything that can render static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like I've used it with Jekyll, which is a Ruby-powered static site generator. What am I looking for? What did I call this? Shops. Hopefully it's here. It's integrated into GitHub and it's doing a little searchy right now. Shops, yes. Yarn, I need you to build something. It is yarn. There's a command that it needs to run. Build Storybook. Build Storybook. Yes. And I believe the thing is called Storybook Static. I believe that's what it's called. And once you do that, Netlify will handle your deploys for you. It'll host it for you somewhere in AWS, somewhere I'm guessing, and it knows how to communicate between GitHub. So any pushes you do on GitHub, Netlify automatically makes a build for you, and that'll come in handy right now because we are going to be creating a PR where there's going to be some back and forth between the developer. And Netlify will create an automatic deploy preview URL that you can then send to anybody and they can just check out. So I'm going to change the name of this. Shops. Shop. Good name for a website. Okay. So this is doing its thing. Hopefully it's building. There was something else you can add to this. I forget. One important detail you can add. Oh yeah, notification. GitHub status? Pull request comment. No, this is it. Success. So what that does is every single time a Netlify deploy preview is successful, it'll add that comment into the GitHub PR. So I just need to make sure that it's successful to begin with. The first one usually takes a little bit just because it needs to download everything from the internet into node modules in order to build its thing. So I'm just going to check to make sure that it's working correctly. Once it does, then we can start doing some GitHub-y kind of back and forth dev designer stuff. Compiling, whatever. In the meantime, I'm going to create a new branch. Git new branch. Shopping cart. That's the thing we're working on. Shopping cart. Push this up. Yay, Webpack is building stuff. This is going to take a little bit. I'm just going to let Netlify do its thing. This is going to no longer be there, which is fine. Shopping cart. Shops. There is a shops.netlify.com. So once it's done building, the site will be hosted there. The Storybook site will be hosted there. Once it's done building, which I don't know when that will happen because I closed the tab and I should have kept that open so I can. Oh, there we go. It's published. Refresh. No, it's not there. Maybe I typed the name wrong. Probably did. There's no S. So that will change things. There we go. Great. We have Storybook out in the wilds, out in the world, where anyone can visit this URL. So now, let us create a PR. Create pull request, new pull request. What? Oh, get push, origin, shopping, cart. All right, so now we're going to have a new branch called shopping cart, which we can create a pull request for. I think. It's not there. Because there's no difference and there's nothing to go. Oh, fine. Oh my goodness. Thing. No, I'm gonna shop. Great. Update README. Great. Good pull request so far. All right. GitHub's not updated yet. Alrighty, cool. Create pull request. Work in progress. Shopping cart. Okay. Dev has done his stuff. He's done some refactoring. He's set up Storybook knobs. He's also set up Netlify. So here you can see on the GitHub, anytime a pull request is created, Netlify will automatically launch a deploy. Right here. So we can see this building. Once this is done, it'll generate a URL that anyone can access to in this PR. And any time you make a change, doesn't matter what it is, you push it up to GitHub, it'll do a rebuild for you, and that URL will update. And that is how you can like very quickly take a look at the things you're building inside a Storybook without having to set up a local dev environment or anything whatsoever, making it very accessible to designers, developers, product, QA, especially QA, and whoever it is that needs to take a look at it. Yeah, great. Netlify deploy preview. Oh, look at that. A handy little link that I can take a look at. And we can see the developer is like, hey, design, please take a look at this. Design's like, oh, okay, something is not right. But in the browser, I mean, let me at least try to play with like the price and stuff. 200, yeah, that works. 50 something 50 bajillion dollars is the price of the thing. Yeah, so we're noticing some CSS issues, which is a problem. But I can play with the UI. So now it's handed off to the designer. The designer's like, all right, I got this, no worries. I will run npm run, no, sorry, yarn storybook. Designer takes a look at this. Product is like, let me just leave a GitHub comment to make it a little bit more, slightly more realistic, I suppose. What do I call it? Shops. Yes. Okay, designer, please help with the CSS in product component. And designer's like, all right, cool, I got this. I take a look at this and I look at it and go, oh, yeah, some things need to change. This one needs to have a background of white, for example. Maybe this one, the max width is just 600 for vague reasons. So now this should look a little bit better. Yeah. It's not being used inside a shopping cart at the moment. Maybe there's a note. There's a little note here. Edit. What? No. I don't want to hide it. Edit. There we go. Ignore shopping cart for now. So the designer is solely focused on this thing. Again, HTML and CSS looks very familiar. Where is it? Here it is. So I'm noticing some things. I need to add some padding to the left and the right. Padding. Where is it? Here. Oh, that's why, because there's no padding. Great. So now it looks like this, a little bit nicer. The plus and the minus buttons don't do anything, which is a bummer. So now let me just try a super long title, lorem ipsum. This is the name of your product. Great. Paste. Well, we can't have that. Title, the H3. The H3 needs to do something with H3. Here's how you do it. I always forget how to do it. It's overflow, hidden, text, ellipses, ellipse. This is what you do. You do CSS, truncate, and then you go to CSS tricks, and then you copy and paste whatever it is they have, and then you use it. That's how you do it. Alrighty. Title. Nope, that is the Netlify one. That's also the Netlify one. I need my local. Yeah. So that's breaking. Why is it breaking? It's breaking for flex reasons, I believe. It's like a flexbox. It's a random weird flexbox thing. Min width 0, max width 100%, something like that. I don't know, something like that. Oh yeah, it's max width. Sure. No, need a little bit more. Alrighty, that's it. Nope, just a little bit. Still more. Nope. All right, cool. So maybe that's how we decide to handle it. I don't know, because the title is not allowed to be long for reasons. So the designer is starting to fix things up in the CSS. They're getting a little bit. This is an environment that they're comfortable working in. They have a dedicated playground just to poke around things, and maybe they commit some changes. It's like, all right, const update UI. And then they go on to GitHub and they're like, developer, I updated the UI. Please hook up product with shopping cart, because that's the next thing. You have your product, you have your individual little product guy, but you need to see it in the context of your shopping cart, because I want to see, as a designer, I want to see multiple items being added. Now it's time to like add and remove multiple items to see how that feels. So the designer has pushed up something to GitHub. Again, Netlify is doing its little deploy. Developer maybe is on lunch at the moment. They're asynchronous. They work remotely. They're on different time zones. Designer has pushed up something at 3 o'clock. Developer is in Vancouver. So they are 3 hours behind. And they're having lunch. And they're just coming back from lunch, and Netlify is doing its thing. They're checking their email and being, oh, the designer's done something. Let me take a look at this. What have they done? Oh, cool, this is fixed. The UI looks great now. I can poke at it in Storybook. All right, now I can pull down and do my thing. So you can see the UI, the workflow is really centered around the back and forth communication. And that's happening inside of GitHub, and also making this readily available with Storybook. And Netlify being able to automatically make these updates and these deploys. And when you pull it down, the environment locally is set up in a way that allows both people to be comfortable doing their stuff. The CSS, the HTML, is set up in a way that's very accessible for a designer. Standard stuff, the standard kind of workflow that you would get from a code pen, really, inside of stories. And now the developer, the need of having to think about UI things that probably would have been very disruptive for them is being offloaded to the designer, because they can effectively take on that load because the workflow has been set up for them. So at this point, the developer can add their product into the shopping cart to do other things inside of Storybook, to add additional knobs to like fiddle with things, maybe add some logic to handle like the adding and the removing of items, and then you kind of go back and forth. And once you have that kind of workflow going, the development of this feature will be it'll be a lot more polished, just because you're able to work at it from such a fine-grained level. And because you have Storybook now, the larger your UI becomes, maybe the shopping cart is now being rendered inside of something else. Or you can set up various scenarios for your shopping cart where you have no items, 10 items, 100 items. How does it look like? How does it feel? How do interactions feel like? Those are some things that you can kind of work on, fine tune from a development and also design standpoint. But it all stems from this workflow that has been kind of like cultivated between designer and developer. Leveraging more modern front-end tools and services like Netlify to empower this kind of thing, to allow for this kind of thing to happen. And yeah, I think that's it for today's stream, going over a very, very rough thing of like building, I guess, parts of the shopping cart. I didn't build the entire UI, but I built parts of it. But the main thing I wanted to highlight was just like being very conscious about what it is that a specific individual contributor excels at, what it is something that they're used to, what are some things that are disruptive, and doing things that really unlock and enable them to be able to do their best work. And that is the mindset you need to approach when you're building things and creating a workflow specifically for designers and developers to interact and work with each other. Thanks, Sean. He said, this is such an immersive storytelling thing. Yeah, I mean, I've been through this so many times myself, and also working with teams. For both, like on the marketing site, they had the same problems, not at the same scale as product, but it's always the same thing, where people excel at certain things, but things like having to set up Docker and your Docker is not updated, and have you tried Vagrant? Oh, Vagrant's not working on my computer. Why? Because you have to install it from Homebrew, but your Homebrew is not working. Maybe try sudo. All that stuff. Like, as a developer who's comfortable with working within those things that disrupt workflow is highly demoralizing. I've lost days to just like, I can't get my local dev environment to work. But people who are more familiar with that side of things, DevOps people who work with Docker and Kubernetes, and that's like their main thing, they can set it up no problem. I can't set up things, and once I get it set up, maybe I have to do like database migrations or doing some random things just so that I can work on the JavaScript React things that I need to work on. That's like, as a front-end developer, those are some of the pains and stuff that you feel. And those are, and all the things I've illustrated or talked about, Docker stuff, those are the gaps between, say, front-end, purely front-end, and more of a DevOps back-endy kind of thing. And those pains that you feel as a front-end developer, those are the exact same pains that a designer feels, because a designer might not be used to Git. They might not be used to a lot of the things that front-end people take for advantage, like npm installing. Have you set up npm? How did you set up npm? Are you using nvm for your version control? Oh, because we use npm, we use node version 10 here versus version 8. You're doing it wrong. Lots of these little things that front-end developers just happen to know from years and years of banging their head against a computer. These are the frustrations that designers feel. And the way to make this work really well, you need to understand and respect where folks are coming from both sides, and really think about and work on workflows to bridge that gap. And with that, like, that's when they're going to do their best work, man. And when you do your best work, the user at the end of the day, they benefit. So yeah, that's what this whole thing is about. Understanding both sides, leveraging tools to allow for both sides to do their best work, in whatever form that may look like. Because, I mean, this is what I've gone through today. Storybook, React, Netlify. It's a very specific workflow in a way, because if you aren't using React, then you got to use another solution. Storybook does support various other frameworks, Vue and so on, but yeah, maybe you need to do something else. And you could very easily simulate this experience just by creating just like an HTML file with CSS and JavaScript. You don't need to be as fancy as React and whatever, but the idea is the same. Creating an isolated thing for people to really focus and do their work, and then creating some sort of automatic deploy process where it makes it easy for them to just check the thing on GitHub without having to fire up Docker or anything else. Those are the things, workflow things, making people happy all over the place. I'm just reading some of the comments now. Very interesting to watch and helpful. I think this could be super helpful. I ran into the dev workflow stuff all the time, and it's a real blocker. Thank you. Yeah, it sucks, man. It really, really sucks. And oh my, the NVM stuff I use. Yeah, and also there's just so many tools. There's NVM, there's ASDF, there's N, there's so many node version thingies. Anyway, dev stuff, design stuff. You can make it happen. You can make it good. You just need to understand people from both sides, respect each other, and make sure everyone has a good time. So yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Friday and a fantastic weekend. Catch you later. Bye. Stop streaming. The prompt comes up every time. Every time the prompt comes up, it's fine. I just have to get used to this. Catch you later.